With the utter disappointment of finding out that The Penguin is not a show about an actual penguin, I didn't know where to place my expectations for this DC series. Imagine the shock I felt when I found out that The Penguin is one of the best comic book series of all time, and there's not a single penguin in it. I've seen a lot of people compare it to The Sopranos, which I'm currently watching, and while I don't know yet if it's on par with that series, I understand the comparison due to the fact that this is a show about crime families and Oswald Cobb's rise to power. The thing that struck me about this series is that there's no penguins in it, but I also noticed that it doesn't feel like a comic book show, and that's okay. It's interesting because it's based off of a comic book property about a guy that dresses as a bat, but when you put that aside, you really start to feel like you're watching a real-world crime drama. The Matt Reeves Batman is the definition of grounded, and while I get tired of hearing that word a million times, it set up the potential for some great stories within that universe that can attract an audience that doesn't necessarily watch comic book media. The first episode gives you the details of what happened at the end of The Batman in the first few minutes, so it isn't actually necessary to watch The Batman. You do get rewarded with Easter eggs from the movie throughout the series. Every episode has put me on the edge of my seat with how suspenseful the series is. I think one of the areas where the show thrives is in the writing. The foreshadowing from the very beginning is worth paying attention to, and I often watch my perception change for characters with each new episode. I love it when writers can make you root for horrible people without feeling the need to make you sympathize for them. There are moments where I sympathize with the characters in this series, but it never justifies their actions. As some people have described this show, it's about assholes being assholes to other assholes. And the crazy part is, there's not a single penguin in this series. Every actor on screen nails it with their performance. It's impressive to see Colin Farrell amplify this character even further and make the audience forget that it's Colin Farrell, regardless of the prosthetics. But it's even more impressive to watch Kristen Milioti match that energy. She steals the show every time she's on screen, and I could not be more impressed. There's even one episode that barely has the penguin in it, and the show remained just as intense. I'm willing to put this up there with Daredevil in terms of quality, but I think this series is friendlier to people that don't typically watch comic book media. While it has brief moments of comic book tropes, it remains a gritty show about crime families in a city that is in ruins. Now, if you are a fan of the Batman and the comics, I will say that this show is for you as well, because the series gives you an even closer look at this iteration of Gotham, and it gives us more depth on the Penguin. This series is beyond a comic book show. It's a well-written crime drama with excellent characters and unbelievable performances. The same way The Last of Us is beyond just another video game adaptation. This show is HBO quality. Or Max quality. Just call it HBO. If I had to rate The Penguin, I would give it a 10 out of 10. But since there's no penguins in it, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Go watch it. So, yeah. Bye.